Alright, y'all. Let's see if we can do... Ooh, fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah, dude. We've got some driving going on. Alright, boys. So... we gonna do a little bit of truck time. Or we're gonna see, right? We're gonna see if we can. So... ooh, it's the fire marshal. Alright. So, let me turn this down just a little bit. Alright. So I've been getting a lot of questions like, why Mallard&Co? So I figured that I would do like... I don't know. I figured like I'd break it down for y'all. Kind of just like explain everything, like the full story. So, in November of 2024, and this is like the rise, the fall of Designer World, and then, you know, Mallard&Co. So in November of 2024, Designer World started. I had a business partner. And he had a bunch of ideas. He wanted to be the head of this tech company and a marketing company and a bunch of other things. So like, he was willing to put down a ton of money. But it had to start somewhere. He was like, you know, I want to do this AI company. I want to do this marketing company. I want to do this tech company. He's like, but it's got to start somewhere. And he had been studying, you know, precious metals and gemstones. And, you know, at the time I was taking some online classes for the GIA. And, you know, we were studying, doing everything. I really wanted to get my GG. So, you know. Kind of figured, well, we'll just go into some business and we'll do some things together. And so in about November of 2024, we started a company called Designer World. And he went ahead and put like 150 grand on the table. He said, we'll start this company with 150 grand. It was between like some loans and some credit cards, some business loans and some credit cards and stuff like that under Designer World. We figured, you know, that would be a pretty good runway. And honestly, 150 grand is good runway. We were told $250,000 is like the runway that you want. Like if you don't have $250,000, like what are you doing? So, that's kind of like what we figured we were going to do. We were just going to be like, yo, 150K in the bank. We're going to go in on some inventory. We're going to go on a website. We're going to fucking send it all down the pipeline and just kind of see. So we went in on a custom website. It was like about 50K when it was all said and done. It wasn't a fully custom website. It was a theme website that we hired developers on top of to customize out. And honestly, I knew that was going to cause problems. I even told them, I was like, dude, we ran into something similar when I wanted to do custom GTA server. Like, we bought pre-built stuff. It's like a framework. You buy the pre-built framework and then you hand it over to developers who kind of know what they're doing, and they take a look at it and they're like, yo, what is this spaghetti code? And you kind of like start to accrue tech debt. And, you know, he knew we were going to accrue tech debt and he was totally fine with it. His philosophy was like, we'll go in on this website, okay? Going on this website, it's going to cost about 50 grand. Honestly, we wanted to spend 20 to 30 grand on the website. We went in, it was 50 grand for the website, right? We spent a little bit more than we originally had wanted to spend. And I mean, it wasn't a bad website, but like it wasn't a good website. Like for, $50,000, like you could get a ton more functionality, a way better looking website. And honestly, some of that is on us. Like we didn't hire, the better developers that we needed to hire. So that kind of sucks. So, we went in on the website. Okay, so now we pull up on the domain problem, right? We wanted designerworld.com. He thought that designerworld.com was gonna be like an end all be all in a situation. Like he thought like if we got designerworld.com, we were gonna be, people are gonna see designerworld.com and just swipe the card. It's gonna be reputable. And I was like, that's not really how it works. And honestly, like Designer World, like kind of cheesy. I don't know. I thought we should have went with like a real company name, but we didn't. And whatever. At the end of the day, that's totally fine. Like, he had a lot of money into this, and I wasn't gonna, give too much pushback. I definitely gave in some good ideas, and I threw out, some passionate thrills. But at the end of the day, he had full creative and directive control, so I wasn't gonna really give too much pushback on that. Hold on one second. So we go to secure this domain, right? It's like $15,000. It's $15,000 for designerworld.com. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever, bro. Well, if that's what you want, like you want designerworld.com, swipe the card, okay? So at the time, I actually didn't know this, but when he swiped the card, his card didn't go through, right? But the transaction did. So like, for a little bit, there was just like a $15,000 charge out there. And we just had designerworld.com, which I thought was absolutely fucking insane. So after we got that situated, we had the website, he had secured all of the social media like while we were doing that. So once we had secured everything, we were like, well, okay, now's the time to like pull the trigger. Like while we were putting together the website and doing all this stuff, we were researching, wholesale gemstones, metals, all this jewelry. So we were like, okay, well, we can put together a pretty solid package. So we went in on, it was $10,000 to start. We went in on $5,000 worth of gemstones and jewelry, and we went in on $5,000 worth of like equipment, clothes, and bags to like promote that jewelry with, like to do photo shoots and stuff like that and promote and maybe do some giveaways, etc., etc. So that was great. We went ahead and got $10,000. The $5,000 worth of jewelry, honestly, that jewelry was beautiful. We got great jewelry, and we had a great, like, okay, when we originally got the $150,000, I sat there and I said, the best way to do this is we go in on inventory, we go in on exactly what it would take to fund a store. Like, I started to find business storefronts like 800-900 square feet. It would be like $10,000-$11,000 for the year, guys. Like, that's really nothing. That would give us a huge runway, right? Let's say we spent like $10,000 on everything, and then we went in on $11,000 a year lease. And instead of buying bags and clothes, right, the other $5,000 aside from the jewelry was like glass cases and storefront stuff and chairs for people to sit, maybe some champagne for people to drink while they wear jewelry. That was the original idea. We were going to go in on a storefront and just kind of send it, because I was like, we need to put the pedal to the metal. If we sign a lease and get a storefront, we can at least, and I promise you, we can at least do damage in a sense of like, we're doing social media every single day to bring people into the store. And not only that, but we're doing online sales. So like, I really wanted to get into like eBay, Facebook Marketplace, TikTok Shop, Instagram online. Like, I really thought that if you just dipped from a bunch of different buckets. That was like the most successful way. And for a long time, he just was like, well, let's just do the website. And then, unfortunately, came to the part where he met somebody on Hinge, and he thought that, like, they were, like, the most amazing potential business partner to ever step foot. And while they're doing that, right, while they're fucking figuring out, like, how they're gonna boost the business, she went ahead and got us a pretty good opportunity. Now, we gave up we gave up like renting a place and actually being at a brick and mortar, which huge fumble. Okay, guys, huge fumble. We gave up that opportunity, and she ended up getting us a night of selling our jewelry at a pretty nice restaurant. It was called Spatch Kitchen. It was actually a really nice place. We did kind of like a soft opening. Kind of showed up. We brought all of our jewelry. We brought, you know, a bunch of different displays. We got set up at a nice table, like right when you walk through the door. So that was awesome. I can't remember. I think we did like 1,200. I think we did about 1,200 in jewelry. And then, you know, we ate dinner and stuff and drank, you know. I mean, the bill was like $200, right? We did 1,200 jewelry. The bill was like $200. So all in all, like, was that a complete W? No, but it was a win in terms of the business, right? We actually had sales. We handed out business cards that had all of our social media on it, and we got followers. Like, we had people starting to kind of recognize Designer World and kind of figure out like who we were, letting them know that we were super local. And then on top of that, they also invited us back. Now, when they invited us back, it was a really great opportunity. We ended up, I think it had to do with Valentine's Day, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it had to do with Valentine's Day. We ended up bringing a ton of roses. We got the back VIP room. It was like a 12-foot long dining room table. It's great. I've got pictures of it on my social media. But we ended up coming back. We did like almost $5,000 in sales of jewelry that night. And like, that's what we went in on, right? So like, guys, we went in on $5,000 worth of jewelry, and we had sold $5,000 worth of jewelry that night, and we still had a ton of inventory. A ton. I mean a shit ton of inventory. And I don't mean a shit ton like I mean a literal shit ton. We had a ton of inventory left. We should have just rinsed and repeated that. I wanted to. I always thought, like, dude, we needed to be in Spatch Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. That would be like the best time. And then obviously holidays. If we could get in on like a holiday, you know, we're out here. But instead, for some reason, we didn't do that. Now, he thought that was a failure. So this was like a tipping point. So we did that night. It was like $49.75. Everything out the door. Which, you know, incredible. It was one night, and people are there. So keep in mind, guys, people are at this restaurant. It's like a low light. Like, they're serving you really nice meals. Like, I think my dinner was like, it was like $65 for the plate. It was a really good portion. It was like a bunch of shrimp, chicken, rice. I mean, it was great stuff. So, So, I'm figuring all this stuff out, right? Like, we're figuring this stuff out. We're going to these places. We're shopping. We're doing it up. And